we heard 5 papers, and each of them, performs one part in the whole circuit of critical reflection, isn't it? From the recognition of the problems by Alicia about, problems of unemployment and structural problems, to a reflection, about developmentalism, about modernization, and modernization, which is definitely at the expense of some of the communities. Some of the communities get lost in this whole path of modernization. And to forms of resistance, we've got art as a form of resistance. We've got museum as a form of resistance. We've got youth communities going back into organic agriculture as a kind of resistance, but also to create new possibilities. I think there are some obvious questions that we can ask and obvious issues that we could discuss. But I think we can leave the floor open now for questions. We started this session a bit late, so we can have a bit of a time, 5-10 minutes more. So should I ask for a round of questions with Anna over there and then the rest of our speakers here? Any questions that you might want to ask?
May I give a comment?
Sure, please.
And I happen to know both. In Hong Kong, you have a village campaign. I have been inside and then also to talk with them and give a kind of lectures. And in mainland, I think that it's students' movement. We cannot say it's a student movement, but it's a students' actions or something. It's started 10 years ago, and I many times to be with them, and it's different. And the first gave a comments about Hong Kong villagers movements. I think that the background is very important. Hong Kong economy is very dangerous. It's just as I mentioned that you have more than 20% of GDP come from the financial sector and the service sector, and then you gave up almost all agriculture. You have almost no processing, no manufacturing, no industry, except real estate, that is a big capital. And then you have logistic, you have a financial, a big capital economy. So by such kind of over-modernized economic structure, so the livelihoods here, it's just people enjoy a lot. You even in winter you enjoy air conditioning. You have a very cool. So it's all modernized, but it's terrible. Every time I was in I visit Hong Kong, I'm here. I think that how can you make your life like this one?
So cold.
It's so cold, and then you. So that it's a village movement. It's a good start to make people aware that you are in danger. It's extremely dangerous life. It's not the life you enjoy. It's not enjoyable. So maybe this is too much heavy to put on your shoulder. But I think that you may have a deep reflection to know that people in Hong Kong is in extremely dangerous life. It's not your real life. It's in a kind of imagination. Potential risk is very high. Nobody can long-term guarantee you have such kind of life. Hong Kong cannot just exploit the whole mainland for a long time. Most of people know that, but Hong Kong here, you are in dream. You don't know that you exploit the whole mainland by so-called SIPA or whatever. So it's not fair. I don't want to criticize you because you are just a common people. You are not the leader. You are not politician. You are not the. But you have so many people join such kind of campaign and then need to know something. Okay, stop here. I don't want to give too much. And about mainland, these young students when they join the rural, they facilitate rural people's different social movements. I said that the first is that teach yourself, practice yourself. Whatever you learned in the university is knowledge or nonsense, or garbage. It's what? You go to practice, and then go to meet people, and then you know what people need, and then what you learn is knowledge. So we have so many discussions in the students' movements. And the first they asked me that, Professor Lin, I want to help my focus. I want to go to countryside, and then what can I do? I said, first, help yourself. To know that you are not a kind of capable man, you cannot do the people's needs. So that is so different things. And then the rural China is a very big society. They not only maintain the social life, but also they contain the big institutional cost from the modernization in urban area. So when our radical intellectuals, sorry, I want to give more critique to my society. Okay, it's because I need to live inside. So, but they dream that they can push this big population country into modernization. It's big disaster. So, but most of them they don't aware that they transfer this big cost to the countryside. So that is the mainland students' movement's background. How can we stop that? We cannot. But we can do something improve in countryside. So we don't give very high record. We don't give a good words to our young kids, to these young volunteers go to countryside. Sometimes I give so many critique. Maybe they cannot stand. So, but anyway, I suppose at least their leader, I mean, Liu Laoshi, he understood. Now the Liu Laoshi died, so these young volunteers need to restructure their movements. So that is a very hard time for them. So we need to have more work inside. Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Comments? Yes, please.
我想问一下那个墨西哥女士，来自墨西哥的那位女士讲，她谈到墨西哥，好像最后的时候我听不太清，好像是谈到就是很多年轻人也没有什么运动，也没有什么组织，但是大家都感觉有共同的感受和共同的方向。我想问，那种共同的感受和共同的方向是从哪里来，怎么来的？
By the same direction.
Basically, the question was that when you mentioned that the youth, there seemed to be no sort of organization, lack of organization, but then there seems to be a kind of common sentiment, a kind of common feeling and a common direction. And the gentleman was asking, where do you think that sort of common feeling or sentiment is from?
Okay. So, okay, sorry that I need more translation. But when I talked about this Mexican situation, is because for many years we have had different kind of problems, as I mentioned in the presentation. And there are also organizations like the ones you just presented that are overwhelmed by the hard work they're doing and the relevant. And in Mexico also youth is doing different things because they know no one else is going to solve the problem. there's not going to come an international organization that's going to solve it. The government is not going to do it. So they're trying to create networks in between themselves. Like, for example, if one person loses their job, they will hire this person to help them out. If I make shoes, the shoes I'm wearing was made by one of my best friends, and one of my other friends lost his job. So he hired him to help him out to make more shoes. So these are the type of things. And by this I mean creating alternatives. If I have something, if I sell things, but I need someone to produce them, I will get them from the person I know, and I will sell them to the people I know. It's very local things, and it's not very established. It's not a movement that has a name, or that it's not an institutional thing. It's just something that is being done all over the country. And I have talked to many people from different states that they're doing this because we need to create alternatives. There's also, in the city I live, this exchange of hours. If I'm an interpreter, that's what I do. I change my interpretation or my translate to someone who is a carpenter and will do furniture for me, because there's not that much money in between us young people. So these are the kind of things that I meant when I feel that they're going in one direction. I don't know if this is answering your question. I'm sorry that we need translation.
有回答你的问题吧？
但是我觉得墨西哥的青年、墨西哥的民众思想觉悟是非常高的，因为他们可以不管去政府怎么，民众之间可以靠这种互相的支持、互相的帮助，我觉得这个是很高的这个觉悟了。
By seeing this, by hearing all the things you guys are doing, I'm getting the feeling that it's not just in Mexico, that it turns out it's everywhere. I don't know, but I'm familiar. I think you work with migrant workers, from what I've heard, and this is also something that they're doing in Mexico. So it's very encouraging to see that the same kind of work is being done all over the world, literally, because you're on the other side of the world. It's 14-hour difference, so literally the other side. And we're all walking in the same direction. So this is, I don't know, motivates me a lot. But I hope it goes that way.
Maybe one more question? One of the aspects I think this discussion is missing is actually the tactics. The tactics and the problems you face during the process of resistance. And I think one of the aspects is what sort of challenges that you face, and what sort of tactics are derived on the process. And I think I'd like to direct that question to Anna. The letters you write to the government, and what sort of challenges and what sort of problems you face. How do people react, to your these kind of tactics you're employing?
The poor youth, the social problems we have in Brazil, in Mexico, the social situation of our countries is a consequence of the policies of these corporations, these large financial groups. They come to our countries and they just reap everything they want, and they leave us with the costs. So resisting and sort of revealing how they sort of sneakily go behind the institutions and people to polish their image, for me, is very important. But what happens is you get everyone defending them because they have the money. So it's like what has happened to me in the past. It's like the art circles, everyone is upset with me. It's like I am creating a problem and I am antagonizing everyone, when in fact, I'm not. I'm just saying that we have to look, and it's like here in Hong Kong, when you go to a museum, look at the logos. I mean, they are the agenda. So it's not neutral. An exhibition of anything, a show, a concert, a book, it's loaded with political meanings. And the tactics, I believe, I really like the idea of turning the camera back. You know, like someone is taking a picture of you, you turn the camera back and show them and show who they are. So I've done, there was the Central Bank of Brazil, just give an example. Central Bank of Brazil, I was looking for artists for an exhibition. Now, it turned out that the president of Central Bank of Brazil, okay, was the former president of Bank of Boston, which is the second largest creditor of Brazil. So the biggest debt Brazil has, this bank holds, okay? So the president of a private bank that has lent money to Brazil, Brazil is struggling to pay, becomes the president of the Central Bank of Brazil, which is the bank that will pay the debt. That's ironic, isn't it? And the guy was full of problems, corruption. He was elected in Brazil, and he wasn't even living in Brazil. He was living in the US. He was the president of the bank. So they asked for a project from artists, projects that talked about the bank. So I did a project that was the biography of the president of the bank. I mean, do you want a more relevant thing than that? So the idea was that there would be a computer at the entrance of the hall, and would have the biography of this president, so you could sort of click and see. I knew they wouldn't approve. And then there would be this giant poster, because among the corruptions and scandals about this man was the fact that he had sent lots of money out of the country. And in order not to be trialed by the government sort of bulletproofed him, protected him, turning him into a minister. So I would have this big photo of this guy with the word blindado over it, which means bulletproofed. And I mean, that was, very relevant. That's the president of course they didn't approve. But I really like the idea of talking to the institution and not talking just to the public. I'm not really interested in this idea, artist, public. I don't believe in that. I think we touch very few people. And the tactics always, I think we should always turn the camera back and show what they're doing. And always make sure you see and you know who is behind your university, who is behind the spaces you are, who is sponsoring everything. Because they're everywhere.
I suppose this panel has really brought a lot of texture, right, to the problems, of what, and we looked through a lot of different tactics. We looked at a lot of differences, but also a lot of commonalities, a lot of similarities in the problems we face and the
Okay, everyone, please return this machine and stop. Thank you.
One other thing, dinner, right? 晚餐在哪里啊？老地方。Okay. Would people who are all welcome to stay for dinner? It's going to be at the Chinese restaurant, 中菜的地方. Okay. The Chinese restaurant on the second floor.
Not far from here.
Not too far.
The same building?
Yes, yeah. You basically have to just walk down one floor.
Good.
Thank you. I was in there.
Wanted to ask you more about.
Oh, the magazine. The magazine is just a copy of it. Is also friends and things, and we work with networks and things for them. she's the editor, and it's a modern art magazine, but I think it's a bilingual magazine. Because the idea is Spanish English, that you copy languages. But it's about modern art and how artists can see different projects around the world, and they have people who collaborate.
谢谢啊。对，我知道。Sorry.
No, it's completely okay.
对啊，情况嘛，所以这样还好吧？对，赶快。对，
我要的
没关系吧？但是我是听对啊，他们就是我的生意对啊，所以我们就很想做更多的跟你们学习。我想好啊，希望你们可以常常过来，可以参观呀，